In this video, I'm going to show you how to manually install WordPress using SFTP, that's Secure File Transfer Protocol. And I'm going to be using FileZilla, which is a free FTP client that you can get at filezilla-project.org. And this is, of course, if you don't already have an FTP client. But if you are going to use FileZilla and you get to this page, be sure to use the client download button, not the server, because you want client, not server. Now, in addition to the FTP client, we also need to head over to wordpress.org/download to download the most recent version of WordPress. And there's some additional goodies on this page too that you might want to bookmark for future reference. It might answer some questions that I may not cover during this video. Let's go ahead and download WordPress while we're here. Navigate to a location on your computer where you want to download that file to, and click on Save. That downloads it because it's only about 7 megabytes, so it shouldn't take too long. And let me give you a quick overview of what we're going to be doing here. We're downloading WordPress, which we've just done, and we want to unzip that download file, and I'll show you that here in just a second, because we want to upload the contents of that folder, not the folder itself. And while that's uploading to our server, we're going to create a database, and I'm going to do this using my cPanel control panel. And then once we build our database and we've got the files uploaded, we need to connect the two, and we do that through the install path, and we're going to demonstrate that here in just a second. Enter a few more details, and voila, our WordPress site is installed and ready to go. So let's get started. I've got the WordPress files downloaded, and they're in a zip file, so I would need to unzip that. And I use 7-Zip. It's a free extractor program. You might also have one that's already built into your computer, whether it's a Mac or a PC. So either way, 7-Zip is free. You can get that at 7-zip.org, I believe. Go ahead and extract that. And just paranoid me, I always check for viruses no matter who I download the file from. So we're good to go there. Now then, let's go ahead and open up our FTP client. And again, I'm using FileZilla. Over here on the left is my computer. Over here on the right is the server that we're going to be connecting to right now by way of SFTP. And there's a couple of ways you can do this. I'm going to use the site manager. And I've already got mine set up. And I went to New Site, entered this name, and then entered the information over here on the right, like the host name, the port, change the default FTP to SFTP, change the default anonymous to normal, and entered the user and the password. Now, if you don't know what this stuff is, go ahead and contact your hosting service and ask them. Tell them what you're doing. You're installing WordPress on your server, and you're using SFTP on FileZilla. What's the host name, the port, the username and password that I need to enter into those boxes to get connected? And also, while you have them on the line or on the email, ask them what the database host name is. I'll get to that here in just a second, but that is something you're going to need to know when installing WordPress. So go ahead and ask them while you got them if you need to contact them for this information. And then once all the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted, usually, by the way, the port is 22. If it does not work, because it doesn't always work for me, I would just need to contact the hosting service and ask them what's the port for a secure connection. Click on Connect. And if all goes well, then over here on the right, you'll see the stuff that's inside of my server. Now, I'm going to be installing WordPress on the root directory, which in my case is public_HTML. I'm just going to double click on that, and here's where my files are going to go. Now then, over here on the left, I want to open up the folder that I've downloaded that WordPress folder to and have unzipped it. And I want to open that unzipped folder because all I want to upload is the contents of that unzipped folder. So I select the top folder, hold the Shift key down on my keyboard, select the bottom file, and then left click, hold, and drag all these guys over here to the right, and that begins the upload process. As you can see, it's a little over 1,200 files. So that's going to take, depending upon the internet speed, anywhere between a couple of minutes if you're really fast to 10 to even 15 minutes if you've got a mediocre internet connection. Well, and by the way, on FileZilla, you know that you're connected securely if over here on the lower right corner, you've got this padlock here that when you hover over it, it says the connection is encrypted. Click icon for details. That's just off the video, but that's what it says. Okay, so while this is uploading, we're going to head over to our cPanel and build our database. I've already logged into my cPanel control panel. Come on down here until you get to MySQL databases. Click on that. Now we want to create a database name, a database username, and record both of those items and the password. Let's go ahead and do that now. Now the database name and username can be anything. Now there are some naming restrictions, but if you enter something incorrectly, you'll get an error message and tell you what needs to be fixed. Then I want to copy the stuff in between those double quotes and record that because we're going to need that here in a minute. I'm going to go ahead and paste that right here. Now for me, I always create my username to be exactly the same as my database name. That's just me. You don't have to do that, but that's just me. And for the password, I always use a password generator because it generates a nice strong password. So I want to copy that, check that box saying that I've done that, click on Use Password, click on Create User, and I want to paste that password before I forget it, and then click on Go Back. Now that we've got username and database created, we need to connect the two. Now if you've got multiple users and multiple databases, hit the drop-down box here, select the correct one. I only have the one. Click on Add. That's going to add the user to the database. Check the box next to All Privileges. Scroll down a bit, click on Make Changes, and we're done. We have successfully created our database, added the username to that, and we're good. So get this guy out of the way here. Let's bring back FileZilla, see how our upload's going. We're a little more than halfway done. But through the magic of video editing, this will only take another second. And we're finished. So now then we are done with FileZilla. Let's go ahead and open up our browser, open up a new tab, and we want to enter the install path. That's our domain name /wp-admin/install.php. That'll begin the installation process where we match together our WordPress install with our database. And if everything worked properly, we'll get this pop-up asking us to select the language we want our WordPress site to be in. I'm going to stick with English. Click on Continue. Tells you the stuff you're going to need here in just a second. We've got all that right here. Database name, username, in my case it's the same, and the password. And go ahead and read over the rest of the stuff here, and then click on Let's Go. And here's the database host name that I was talking about earlier. More times than not, it's going to be localhost. But if it isn't, then find out from your hosting service what it is and put that in there. Go ahead and put in my database name, username, and password. And when you're copying and pasting like I am here, make sure that you're not copying any blank spaces or ghost characters because you will get an error message. And I always change the table prefix from the default WP underscore to anything else because the hackers know that by default that's what it is. And this is just one more way in which they can break into your WordPress site. So let's not make it easy for them. And then click on Submit. Oh, and by the way, also for another reason to change the table prefix is if you're going to be running multiple WordPress installations, but that's the makings of a different video altogether. So just for security reasons, change the table prefix. Click on Submit. And now then click on Run the Install. And we're going to need to enter the site title, a username, which should not be admin, should be anything other than admin, and gives you some little hints right here on what you can use. And we want to copy the username and the password onto our text document here, because we're going to need that to log in here in just a second. And you want to also enter an email address. Make sure the email address you have here is a good one that you will be able to access. And I always uncheck this box here until I'm done building my WordPress site. I don't want the search engines to index it. I don't want the world to know about my site until I want them to. And I'll show you here in a second how you can reactivate this inside of WordPress. So let's go ahead and enter these details and then click on Install WordPress. And that's my robo form that keeps popping up there. And if everything goes right, we get this. Now then, let's click on Login. Enter the information we recorded, like our username and password. Don't get these confused with the username and password for our database. That's a whole different ball of wax. We want the login stuff for our WordPress site. And you can check this box here next to Remember Me or not. And then click on Login. And this is our WordPress site. This is the admin area or the dashboard area of our WordPress site. Now we come on down here to Settings, Reading, And once you've got your WordPress site all built up and prettied the way you like it to be, and then untick this box here for search engine visibility. Because whenever I untick that box during the install process, that automatically ticked this box that says discourage search engines from indexing this site. Well, whenever you want the world to know about your site, come on back in here, untick that box, click on Save Changes, and you're solid. And that's going to bring us to the end of this video on manually installing WordPress using SFTP and FileZilla. Thanks for watching, and you have a great day. In this video, I'm going to show you the easy way to install WordPress onto your server using what's called a one-click installation program. And technically it does take more than one click, but it's a heck of a lot easier than doing it the manual way. Anyway, I've already logged into my cPanel control panel. Let's go ahead and scroll down here a little bit until we get to the Software and Services module. And this is the program I'm going to be demonstrating on, and this is called Softaculous. There's actually several different programs similar to this. Another one might be Installatron or Simple Scripts. They all do pretty much the same thing, and that is make installing applications a lot easier on your server. So let's go ahead and click on Softaculous to open that up. And we want to install WordPress. You can see over here all the different applications that can be installed using this type of method, that being a couple of clicks and you're done. But we want to click on WordPress. That'll bring us to the overview page. You can read up on the program here and all the other technical stuff related to WordPress, features, screenshots, demos, and so on. But we want to click on Install. And if you have an SSL certificate assigned to your domain, you might want to hit the drop down here and choose the HTTPS protocol, but I'm going to stick with the HTTP. And if you have multiple domains, you might want to hit the drop down box here and choose the one you want to install this WordPress site on. I'm going to leave it at that. And if you want to install WordPress on a subdirectory named WP or blog or members or whatever, then just type the name in here. And as it says here, that directory cannot exist because this program will automatically create that directory and install WordPress inside of that directory. I myself am going to install it on my root directory, meaning that to get to my WordPress site, all you have to do is type in the domain name and boom, you're right there on my WordPress site. Now, that said, you can do both. You can install WordPress on your main domain and come back in here and install another WordPress site inside of a subdirectory on that domain. For that matter, you can do it multiple times, but that's the makings of a different video altogether. So for now, I'm just going to leave that blank. Come on down here to database settings. I am going to change the table prefix to something other than the default WP underscore for security reasons, because any hacker that's worth his salt knows that the default table prefix is WP underscore, and that just gives them one more way in which they can break into your site. Now I've got this text document here I'm going to be copying and pasting stuff onto, like the username and password, for example, to be able to log into our WordPress site here in just a second. The site settings, the site name and description, you can enter that here. I'm going to leave this alone for now. You can change this inside of the WordPress admin area and to the admin account where you create your username and your password to be able to log into your site. You do not want to have admin as your username, so change that to anything other than admin. And the password, you want this to be a nice strong password. You can use this key over here to help you out. That'll just generate a random string of text like uppercase, lowercase letters, numbers, special characters, and this gives you a 60 out of 100 in strength. To increase that, just start adding additional characters. I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste this onto my text document over here. And the admin email, you want to make sure that this is a working email address that you have access to. Then choose the language you want your WordPress site to be in. And under Select Plugins, Limit Login Attempts has not been updated for a couple of years, but it's a solid layer of security to be added to my WordPress site, because basically it helps prevent people from guessing repeatedly your username and your password until they actually break into your site. So I'm going to go ahead and check that box to have that plugin automatically installed. Now, this option is not available on all one-click installation programs, so you might want to note this particular plugin so that after your WordPress site is installed, you go ahead and install and activate this plugin as well. Now, under Advanced Options, just go ahead and click on that to open it up. You can change the database name here if you want. I'm going to leave it alone. Then you have these other options here where you can disable update notifications, auto upgrade. Check that box to automatically upgrade your core WordPress install. Same with the WordPress plugins and themes that are also installed on your site. I myself leave these unchecked. This is a personal preference. I would much rather be a little more in control of how things are done on my site than just to have them automatically done, but that's totally up to you. Automated backups and backup rotation. If you are not using a third-party backup program, then this is a good tool to have in place. Depending upon the amount of content that you add to your site on a regular basis, you may want to choose backup once a day, once a week, or once a month. And if you do, then you have this backup rotation. 4 is a good number to go with. Basically what happens here is if you choose 4, then the 5th backup that takes place, the oldest backup is automatically deleted from your server, so you only have 4 on your server at any one time. Unlimited is not a good idea because you'll just end up bogging down your server with all those backups. But I'm going to go ahead and leave this as don't backup because I'm going to be using a third-party backup tool for mine. And under themes, if you want to select a theme at this point, you can do that. This is an option that you can take care of inside of your installed WordPress program at a later date. Until then, the default WordPress theme is automatically installed and activated as soon as we hit the install button, which I'm going to do now. And boom, we're done. That actually was the one-click part of the one-click installation. Now, if you want to check out the site, you just click this link here. Rather bland at this point, but that's our WordPress site. And to log into your WordPress site, just click on the administrative URL, into the username and the password. And this pops up because I had also installed that limit login attempts plugin. And if you attempt 4 times to incorrectly guess a username and or password, you're going to be locked out. So enter the username and password. Click on Login, and you can check the box there for Remember Me if you want or not. And this is our dashboard area, or the administrator part of our site. And that's going to bring us to the end of this video on installing WordPress on your server the easy way, using one of the one-click installation programs. Thanks for watching, and you have a great day. One way to help keep your WordPress site secure is to only use secure file transfer when transferring files to and from your WordPress site. Now, if you are manually installing your WordPress site using an FTP client, kind of like FileZilla, like what I'm going to be demonstrating with here, then only use SFTP. That's S as in secure, FTP. Now, if you are, for example, prompted within your WordPress site to supply your FTP credentials in order to update plugins and or the WordPress files, then instead of doing it that way, go ahead and use your outside FTP client like FileZilla and only use the SFTP option. Now in this demo, I'm going to show you just how easy and fast it is to set up the free FileZilla FTP client software for secure file transfer. Now I've already downloaded, installed, and opened up my FileZilla program. Come on up here to File. Oh wait, before we do that, let me bring in my handy dandy little timer here. Show you just how fast it is of that easy and fast part I was talking about. Come on up here to File, go to Site Manager. I'm going to go to New Site. And you don't really have to do it this way, but I'm going to keep things permanent in here, at least for this demo. So I'm going to go ahead and give this one a name. And you can name it whatever you want. And over here, put in your host name. Now, if you were given a host name like ftp.mydomainname.com or whatever, or www, then you do not want to put in any prefix. You want to leave off the ftp dot or the www dot and only put in the domain part .com or .net or whatever your host was. And this is information you get, by the way, from your web hosting service when you first purchase your hosting account. Now under port, this is where it got a little hairy for me. I put in port 22. That's what you're supposed to do with secure transfer or for the SFTP. But that did not work for me, so I contacted my hosting company, which is what you want to do if it doesn't work for you. And they told me, well, for me, I need a different number, 7978. Now here under protocol, hit that drop down, go to SFTP, and the rest of the stuff here is just like you would normally log in to your normal FTP account. Under login type, I'm going to go with normal, And under user and password, just put in the username and password that was given to you by your hosting account. And that's what I'm going to do now, copying and pasting. Now, whenever you're copying and pasting like I do, then you want to make sure that you're not adding any additional white marks or blank spaces to the beginning or to the end of that password or username. And you can just put whatever comments you want in there and click on connect. And you'll know that you're connected securely by down here in the lower right corner, you'll see a little padlock there. And that is how quick and easy it is to set up your secure file transfer, or SFTP, using the free FileZilla FTP client. Thanks for watching, and you have a great day. In this video, I'm going to show you how to secure your WordPress site by showing you a couple of ways to secure your wp-config.php file. One way we're going to do that is by moving it from where it is to where the bad guys can't find it. Now, since there are arguments on both sides of the fence that doing this will secure your site or doing this will not secure your site, I'm also going to show you another way to secure your config file by adding some code to your .htaccess file. So let's go ahead and get started. But before we do, I want to give you a little public service announcement. First, before you do any playing around with code or messing with moving files, you want to make sure that you have a current full backup. That's a backup of both your files and your database. So before you do anything, get your full backup done. Secondly, the moving of the wp-config.php file will not work at all. Matter of fact, it will break your site if your WordPress site is installed on a subdomain or if it's a multi-site setup. So that's another reason why I want to show you another way of securing your config file by adding code to your .htaccess file, just in case your WordPress site is installed on a subdirectory or is a multi-site setup. Because again, if it is a subdirectory or it's a multi-site setup, do not do the moving of the config file. That will not only not work, it will break your site. Okay, that said, let's get to work. I'm going to be doing this within my cPanel control panel. You can do pretty much the same thing if you are using something like FileZilla or an FTP client. But for me, it's just a lot easier to do it within File Manager of my cPanel control panel. So I've already logged into cPanel, click on File Manager, and here is the wp-config.php file. Now we're not talking about the one that has -sample in it. That's basically just trash right now. We could just delete that and not have to worry about it, but we'll leave it alone for now. The one we're going to be moving is right here, wp-config.php. Now, first off, I want to demonstrate that the site is working. Click on my blog. Okay, hello world. It's a brand new installation, so there's nothing on there. What do we got here? Yep, okay, so everything's working just fine. So we come on back to File Manager, and let's just select our wp-config.php file. And right now, it is located in the root directory. It's located inside of the public_HTML folder. You hit the drop down there. You can see that it is right in here along with these guys here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to move it outside of or up a level from the root directory. I'm going to put it in the same directory as the public_HTML. I just left click, hold, and drag it on up there. And you can see it's gone from here. Just go ahead and reload this. Yep, it's definitely gone. And if I click on this to show you all the contents of this, you can see the public_HTML right here. If I scroll down, you'll see the config file right here. So we have successfully moved it. Come on back to the site. And let's just click on that. And click on that. Yep, we're still working just fine. Okay, so that's how you can move the config file and it be working just fine. Now let's come on back here and bring it back. Select it, left click, hold, and drag it over to the public_HTML directory or folder. And there it is. Okay, so we're back in business now. Now the other way is by adding some code to your .htaccess file. Now, if yours is a brand new installation of WordPress, you might not have this just yet. In which case, one way to do it is come on up here and click on Create File and name it, put a period there, HT Access, click on Create New File. That's one way to do it. But I've already got one made, so I'm going to select it and then right click and click on Edit. And you want to come on up here to the very top. And this is where you want to enter this code. Now, this code I'm going to be including along with this video as a separate copy and paste file. There's not a whole lot to it, but just in case you don't want to pause the video and take a chance on getting anything wrong here, I got you covered. Basically, you've got this, what is that, a less than bracket, files space wp-config.php, greater than bracket, next line order space allow, comma, deny, next line deny space from space all, next line you got the less than / files greater than, basically just to close out this argument. And that's it. Come on over here, click on save, click on close, and now nobody has access to that wp-config file except for you and anybody else that has access to your server. And that's it. We have now added an additional layer of security to our WordPress site by securing the wp-config.php file a couple of different ways. And that's going to bring us to the end of this video. Thanks for watching, and you have a great day. This video is going to show you how to secure your WordPress site by making it even harder for the hackers to break into your site. So if your administrative login username is admin, then you're giving the hackers half of their job whenever they try to break into your site. Also, more sophisticated hackers might find a way in if you are using the #1 user slot on your database. And I'll show you what I'm talking about here in just a second. So we're going to plug both of these potential security holes, and this will discourage most hackers, and they'll just simply move on to someone else's site that isn't as safe as yours. Here's how we do that. Go ahead and log into your admin area, which I've already done in this tab. Come on down to Users and click on Create New User or Add New. And right now, you're logged in as administrator. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Matter of fact, if we click on this link here, open it in a new tab, I'll show you all the users that we've got on our site so far, just the one, but it has the role of administrator and the username is admin. And if we come on over to our cPanel control panel, scroll on down until we get to PHP My Admin, and this is the one here that I'm looking for. Under users, you can see right here under ID, #1. That's the other hole that we need to plug. And here's how we're going to do that. If we come on back here to our add new user, we're going to create a new administrator account for us, and we're going to delete the other one. And this new administrator account is not only going to not have admin as the username, it's also not going to be on the #1 slot. It'll be on the next slot, which in this case is #2. And we get on down here to role, hit the drop down, click on administrator, and we want to click on show password. Go ahead and copy that. And I've got a plain text document here that I'm keeping on my desktop to keep tabs on all my login stuff. Actually, I've got a couple of password managers, LastPass and RoboForm, that does all this stuff for me. But for the sake of this video, we're going to stick with the plain text document. So let's paste that password in here. Username is Stan with a capital S. And get this guy out of the way. And click on Add New User. That was the RoboForm thing I was talking about. Okay, so now then we cannot delete this admin account because we're currently logged in as that. So what we need to do now is log out and then log back in with our new account. And now come on back to users, all users. And now we're logged in as Stan, so we can delete the admin. As you see, as we hover over this, we have the delete option, whereas if we hover over this one, we don't. That's just a safety measure, I guess. But go ahead and click on delete, delete all content. Actually, let's go ahead and keep the sample stuff and associate it to the new user. Click on confirm deletion and bye-bye admin. Now if we come on back over here to our database and then come on back to users, you can see that we are now in the #2 slot for users, and we no longer have the user login as admin. So those potential security holes are now plugged. And that's going to bring us to the end of this video. Thanks for watching, and you have a great day. You can have all the security features in place for your WordPress site, but if they are all on an infected server in your web hosting account, then your site can still get infected. Now, I don't mean to be a Debbie Downer here, because this is the worst case scenario and may never happen, but you should plan for the worst and hope for the best. Now, with this in mind, it's best to plan on moving your sites to a VPS, that stands for Virtual Private Server, or a dedicated server as soon as your budget allows for it, as soon as you can afford it. Now, as far as starting out and using a shared hosting plan, like most of us do that are on a budget, there's a couple of questions that you should ask the hosting company before you purchase an account from them. Number one, how often do you run malware scans on your servers? Not individual accounts, but on the servers that those accounts reside. And number two, do you do backups of your account? And if so, how often? And is it free? And if not, how much is this extra going to cost me? Now, there are plenty of other questions to ask in general, just like, say, how many domains can I have on my account? How many email accounts can I have? What's the bandwidth limitations, and so on. But most of these are actually spelled out on the hosting company's websites. So if you're wanting to save a ton of time and research, then you can contact a guy named Jim at tvcnet.com. Let me just show you here. That's tvcnet.com, and then it'll just redirect you to this site here. And you can use the phone number if you've got questions, and they've got a complete list here of all the different types of services that they offer, and the prices are very reasonable. The main kicker here is you've got the daily malware scan, and they also provide the backups. So definitely include tvcnet.com in your list of researching websites for your future hosting account. Now, once you've got your hosting setup taken care of and everything's all safe and secure, if you want to find out now what Google thinks of your site as far as it being infected or not, then here is a URL for you to check into. Let me just bring this over here. And you can just replace this www.example.com with your URL, like, for example, this right here, and I'll show you an example of what it's going to look like. I think that'll work. I don't think I need the www in front of mine. Let me just copy this and paste this in the address bar here. And this is the results of what you should get if your page is clean. What is the current listing status for your domain? And it'll tell you here if your site is listed as suspicious or not, and hopefully it's not suspicious, and so on. And there's a host of other goodies over at the Webmaster Tools that you can rely on to keep your site safe, secure, and indexed too. But that's a story for a different video. Now, if you already have a hosting company and do not want to move, then you might want to consider some type of site monitoring service. And you can set one up like what I'm about to show you, and it's free. Or there are free services and there are paid services that'll monitor your website on a constant basis. Now, both paid and free have their pros and cons, and you can do a search for website monitoring service and come up with a little over 150 million results. So there's no shortages of options to choose from here. But let's go ahead and look at a way that you can do this for free, and it's going to take less than 5 minutes to set up. And this is called Google Alerts for Malware. So what you want to first figure out is a list of all the keywords that you want Google to alert you about if they happen to pop up on your site. For example, if your WordPress site has nothing to do whatsoever with pharmaceuticals, and you want to be alerted the first time that something ends up on your site having to do with Cialis or Viagra or porn or any other type of keyword that you know you didn't have anything to do with putting on your site, and it shows up there, if you want to be alerted to that, here's how you do it. Let me go ahead and pull in my handy dandy little timer here, set at 5 minutes. Let's go ahead and start this off. Now we want to head over to Google Alerts, and I believe it's google.com alerts /alerts, I believe. Yes, it is. And here's the search query that we want to put in there. You want to put in site:/yourdomain.com, or whatever your domain is, and then you want to put in a space and then the keywords that you want to search for. Let me just show you that on this text document here. Right here. This is what you want to put in. Site, your domain. Replace this with your actual domain if it's .info, .com, .org, whatever. Space, then the keyword you want to search for, and then a space, then the word or, space, another keyword. So for example, Cialis, space, or, space, Viagra, space, or, space, whatever else you want to put in there that you want to be alerted about. And then once you do that, let's get this out of the way here, then you want to result type. I'd say everything. And you can always come back and adjust this later if you're just getting too much information. Hopefully you won't get any information. That's the goal here. How often? I'd say at least once a day. And because remember, this is free, so why not? How many? Only the best results? I'd say all results. And then your email address that you want the alerts to be sent to. Then click on Create Alert, and you're good to go. Now, if you have several alerts in here, because maybe you're fluent with Google Alerts, then you can go here to Manage Your Alerts to go in and edit any alerts that you have set up, or to see if you need to make any adjustments on any of those current alerts you've got already created. And there you go. You see, you're able to do this site monitoring for free in under 5 minutes. And that's going to bring us to the end of this video on site monitoring and web hosting the secure way. Thanks for watching. You have a great day. This video is about using only strong, unguessable passwords to help secure your admin area of your WordPress site. It takes way less than 5 minutes to generate a strong, unguessable password. Here, watch. Let me go ahead and bring in my handy-dandy text document here. This doesn't even require a timer. A couple of letters, a couple of capital letters, a few numbers, some special characters, and a minimum of 8 to 12 characters. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and we are good as gold. We've got 13 characters using both upper and lowercase letters, some numbers and some special characters in there, and you put this into any password strength indicator and it's going to rank perfectly. So way under 5 minutes. And it's not that difficult, but remembering that password might be the tricky part. And if you have several or more WordPress sites, it gets even trickier. Now, this is where password managers are a lifesaver. Two very good password managers are called LastPass and RoboForm. Both have paid and free options, and there are plenty of guides on the web to set either one up for you to use in just minutes. So there's zero excuses in not being able to both generate and manage all of your strong and unguessable passwords. For example, if we were just to do a search here for how to use LastPass, you're going to have a little over 1 million choices. And if you wanted to narrow that down, because maybe you're more visual like me and you want only videos, you're still going to have an abundance of options. Same thing here, how to use RoboForm. Again, plenty of options, and these are just the videos. So now there, again, is no excuse whatsoever why you should be using your password or no password or password as your strong, unguessable password. So whether you opt for the free or the paid version of either LastPass or RoboForm, do it and use it. That's going to bring us to the end of this video on generating strong and unguessable passwords in less than 5 minutes. Thanks for watching, and you have a great day. One way to help in securing your WordPress site is to make it as difficult as possible for the bad people to break in. Duh. One way to do this is to avoid using the default database prefix WP_. Now, if you have not yet installed WordPress and you have access to the one-click install program called Softaculous, then you can make this change before you even install WordPress. You can also change the database prefix manually after you have WordPress installed. The manual way is best done on a new install, but you can still do it on a seasoned site just as easy. If, however, you're not one to get your hands dirty, then there are plugins that you can install on your already installed WordPress site that can do all the heavy lifting for you. These plugins might be a little bit iffy, and they come with a little bit of a learning curve. I myself prefer the easiest way possible, but in case something breaks along the way, I'd also like to have some idea where to look in order to fix it. So this video is going to show you how to manually edit your database prefix in less than 5 minutes. However you decide to alter your database prefix, you want to have a fresh, full backup of both your files and database before doing this. Now that you have your new backup created, let's go ahead and log into our server's control panel. And in this demo, I'm going to be using the control panel cPanel. Oh wait, before we do that, I want to show you that this site does work and that hopefully it'll do the same thing once we're done editing our database prefix. So let's come on over to cPanel, and we want to come on down here to our phpMyAdmin. And we want to, if you've got multiple databases, then you want to make sure you're editing the right one. Now, one way to make sure you've got the right database is to come on back here to File Manager on your control panel. Click on File Manager. Come on down to the wp-config.php file. Select that. Click on Code Editor. And then Edit. And then right here is the name that we're going to be editing. So that would be the 248. That's going to be this guy right here. Now I also want to mention that I'm going to go ahead and leave this guy open because once we change the name of our prefix on our database, we have to come back to our config file and change it here as well. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and leave this guy open. Come on back here. Oh, and before we get things started, let me bring in my timer here just to show you it is going to be done in less than 5 minutes. Matter of fact, spoiler alert, I'm going to show you 2 different ways you can do this. So let's go ahead and click on this. Wait, let's start the timer first, make it official. Okay, now let's click on this. Come on in here, and of course a lot of this is going to depend on your internet speed because there is some downloading and uploading involved. But let's come over here to Export and click on Go. Navigate to the location on your computer where you want to download this SQL database to. Okay, that's done. Let's get this out of the way. Open up that directory because we don't really want to work on the one we just downloaded. We want to keep that as a kind of a backup. So let's go ahead and click on Copy and Paste. Actually, I'll keep this guy name copy as the backup, and we'll open this guy up with Notepad or WordPad. Notepad will work just as well, but it looks like gibberish. So let's go ahead and use WordPad because there's some formatting involved here. Come on up here to Home. Go to Replace and find what we want to find, the WP underscore, and we want to replace it with our new one, which is, let's give it a name, GOTU underscore, and replace all. Now, if you've got a whole lot of funky plugins installed and activated and it's a real seasoned site, you may want to go ahead and replace one at a time because some plugins will use WP underscore a couple of times in the path of that plugin, and you only want to change the first instance within that path, not all of them. So when you click on Replace All, anything in here that has WP underscore, it's going to change. So you may want to do this one at a time if you've got a seasoned site. If it's a brand new site with minimal plugins, boom, do that. And we're done. Okay, now then let's go ahead and cancel this. Let's go ahead and make sure, let's go through here. Yeah, okay, so we got that one changed. So we've got that one changed, we got them all changed. Click on Save, so we're good. Click out of here. We know that guy is still okay and intact, so let's go ahead and upload this back into our database. Get this out of the way. Come on back up here. And let's go ahead and select all of these guys here. Let's clean out our database right now because these are all still the WP underscores. And with all those selected, we want to drop them. Get them out of here. Click on Yes. And they're gone. Now we want to come up here to Import. Choose File. That's the guy right there. Come on down here, click on Go. And we're good. Click on Refresh just to make sure. Come on back here to our WP-config file. Change that to GOTU underscore. Come up here and click on Save. And that should be good. And come over here to our blog and refresh. And if it's not broke, then it's going to work. Cool. And we've got, what, 3 minutes? Okay, so we're good to go. Now, another way to do this, since I've got a little bit of time left, if you come on back over here, come on back up here, we can select all of these files, or tables rather. over here to with selected, replace table prefix. Click on that, and right here go from GOTU underscore to WP underscore, or whatever you want, WPT underscore. Click on submit, and there you are. Refresh. Come on back here. What is that? WPT underscore. Click on save. Come on back here. Refresh. And it's still working. So that's 2 ways for the price of 1. In both ways were done in under 5 minutes. And how you can change your database prefix from the WP underscore to whatever you want. That's going to bring us to the end of this video on editing your database prefix in under 5 minutes. Thanks for watching, and you have a great day. One of the ways that a hacker can break into your site is by them knowing the vulnerabilities in both the older versions of WordPress and some of the files within even the current versions of WordPress. So one way to minimize these vulnerabilities is to keep your WordPress files, plugins, and themes up to date. But maybe you've got a client that wants to keep an older version of WordPress for whatever reason they have. Then you want to make sure that no one can see this site has an older and more vulnerable version of WordPress on it. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to prevent the version number from showing up, as well as the removal of some of the files that are not needed to keep your WordPress site working that might pose a vulnerability threat. So first off, let's go ahead and show you where those version numbers might show up at. Now I'm in a Firefox browser, so if you're on a different browser, Chrome, Safari, Internet Explorer, then what I'm about to show you might look a little bit different. But just right click, come on down here to view page source and left click on that. And this is the code that makes a WordPress site do what it does. So I'm going to Control F to get that find box that pops up. And the current version that I'm working with right now is 4.3.1. So I want to see how many of those numbers pop up. So I'm going to type in this find box down here, 4.3.1, and we see that that string of numbers shows up 7 times throughout here. So the version number is popping up here 7 different times. We want to get rid of those without breaking our site. Let's get rid of this. And there's an easy way and a hard way. The hard way is to add code like this to the bottom of your functions.php file within the theme that you're using. And I'm not going to go into that because then we got to go into how to create a child theme and all kinds of other stuff that just goes way beyond the scope of this video. So let's keep it simple and still get the job done. We can do that with a plugin. So let's log into our admin area of our WordPress site. Come on down here to plugins, go to add new, and in the search box, type in Meta Generator, and it should be one of the top results that pop up right here, Meta Generator and Version Info Remover. Click on Install Now, and then Activate Plugin. And as soon as that happens, it just did its job. It just removed those version numbers from showing up. But there's a little more to it than that. If we come over here to Settings, and then click on the Meta Generator link, that'll bring us to the settings page for that plugin. Now, since this is a brand new installation of WordPress, it's not required at all. But if you have a seasoned site, one that's got a lot of stuff, a lot of plugins, maybe a lot of content, then there might be some scripts there that require that version number for them to function, in which case you want to keep this plugin from affecting them. And you do that just like it says here by putting in their file names right here, separated by commas. Then come on down here and click on Save Changes. I have not made any changes, so I don't need to save anything, but I do want to come back to the site here, refresh, and then right click, then left click on page source, do a Control F again, and then type in 4.3.1. And you can see that it doesn't show up at all. It has effectively removed all of those and has not damaged the site. The site still works just fine and dandy. Only the hackers, when they come to see the source code, are not going to know what version number this is. So that's how you can prevent the version number from showing up on older versions of WordPress. Now, of course, this being a brand new version of WordPress, it's not necessary because more than likely all the vulnerabilities have already been plugged with this new version. Anyway, one last thing I want to cover in this video is removal of the trash, or what I call trash files, that really play no part in your site whatsoever. So let's go ahead and get rid of them just in case they may pose a threat down the line. So I'm doing this in the cPanel control panel under the file manager. You can do the same thing through an FTP client, but we log into the root directory of our WordPress site, and there's a couple of files right here, the README and the license. And I select one, hold the control key down on my keyboard to select multiple files. And if you still have it, get rid of it, that being the wp-config-sample. Make sure that it's one that ends in -sample, because the wp-config file is an important file you don't want to delete. So let's go ahead and select the one -sample. Come on up here, click on delete. Are you sure? Yes. And then come on up here to wp-admin folder or directory. Open that up and scroll down. Select the install-helper and the install.php files. Since obviously we have WordPress installed, we don't need those files any longer. Click on delete, and we are golden. We are good to go. So all of those vulnerabilities have been taken care of. And that's going to bring us to the end of this video. Thanks for watching, and you have a great day. Sometimes securing your WordPress site can be as simple as installing a plugin. But after that plugin's installed, you're left scratching your head wondering how to configure the settings on the darn thing. Now, some of these security plugins can be a total headache if you check the wrong box or you click on the wrong button. Poof, your site can go up in smoke. So this video is going to show you how to configure the powerful and free iThemes security plugin. Now, before we install and activate the plugin, since it is a powerful plugin, we need to first do a full backup of our site, both files and database. Okay, so we've already got that out of the way. Now then, we want to log into our dashboard area. Come on down here to plugins, add new, and we're going to install and activate the iThemes security plugin. So up here in the search plugins box, type in iThemes security and then hit enter. And it should be one of the first results that pop up right here. Click on install now and activate plugin. And as soon as you do that, you'll get these two items that pop up here at the top, and over here in the left sidebar, you'll get a new set of links. Under security, you'll get dashboard, settings, advanced, backups, logs, and some additional help documentation. And if you like the free version, you might want to go pro, and you can do so very easily by just clicking on that link. Now, the iThemes security plugin has a whole lot of things that you can do, but only a few things that you have to do. And we're going to stick primarily to the few things that you have to do. One item that we're not going to really get too deep into is this first one up here, the iThemes brute force network protection. I am going to go ahead and click on the Get Free API key. That's going to take us into the dashboard, and this is going to pop up. Now, before you start going through these buttons here, let's go ahead and get out of this. Let's go ahead and check out that iThemes brute force protection real quick. We're in the settings tab, and we just scroll down a bit. Sorry if I'm making you dizzy. Banned user brute force. Right here we are. And all you have to do, of course, read all this stuff over here, but all you have to do is enter your email address in here and then click on Save All Changes, and the free API key will automatically be populated inside of here. So that's really all you have to do to get and activate the iThemes brute force protection. Okay, now that we have that out of the way, let's come on back up to the top and click on Show Intro in the top right corner. That's going to pop up these 4 questions again. The very first item it's going to show you here is to make a backup. Now, this is just for the database files, not the image files, the video files, anything else that might be in, like, for example, your media library. So you definitely want to do this, but if anything goes wrong, you've got that full backup that you did prior to even activating this plugin. Now, before we start getting into these 4 items here, because really these are the items that have to be done, everything else is the could be done thing. I want to first come on back here to the dashboard and show you what the iThemes security plugin has found as high priority, medium priority, and low priority fixes. Now, if it were a perfect world, you would not have any of these items showing up here, high, medium, or low priorities. They'd all be fixed. But depending upon the scripts that you have running on your site, the plugins and whatnot, some of these items under medium and low priority are just going to have to be left alone, because if you try to fix them, they may break your site. And if you do, not to worry, because you've got that full backup that you can reinstall and get your site right back to the way it was prior to clicking on that Fix It button. But you should remove all of the items, or most all of the items, in the high priority section. Now, I purposely installed this WordPress site using admin as a username, which is a big no-no. You never want to do that, and that's the very first item that iTheme Security has pulled up. Simply click on the Fix It button, and it gives you a nice little warning message here of what to do before you go any further. Check this box here, enter the new username, check this box as well to move you out of the number 1 user slot on the database, which is also a security issue, and move you into the next available. Of course, this being a new site, the next available would be the number 2 user slot. Be sure and have your password handy, because this will log you out as soon as you click on Save Admin User. But let's go ahead and come on back to the dashboard. And I just wanted to show you right off the bat these 5 items that iTheme Security found by default. Let's come on back to that initial pop-up, click on Show Intro, and we'll do the backup here. Again, that's just for the database files. We'll click on this button here to allow file updates. That's going to tweak the wp-config and the .htaccess file that will allow iTheme Security to write to those files. And this is the big guy right here, the one-click secure. Clicking on this button will take care of a majority of the security issues on your site. Don't blink. There. That's how fast it was. And if you want to allow iTheme Security plugin to collect anonymous data to help them make their plugin better, then go and click on this button as well. I'm going to go ahead and dismiss this out, because basically we're done. We've done the few items that need to be done, and I'm going to leave the bunch of items that can be done to you. But I do want to scroll down a bit and show you that a majority of those high priority items are already taken care of. The admin user, we know we can take care of that by clicking on Fix It. Have your password handy, because you will be logged out. And it shows here that the site is not performing any scheduled backups. You can click on Fix It, and it will do that for you, but these are only the database files that are being backed up, which is better than nothing. But you should still have some type of a backup process in play that will back up your files as well as your database. A good plugin for that, and there's a bunch of them, but a good free plugin for that is called Back WP Up. Now, if you come on back up here to the top and go to Settings, this is one tab that you really want to get familiar with, and it could take you some time, but go through these. Most all of these are self-explanatory. One that I did want to point out, if we scroll down here about midway, is doing a quick malware check. Right, here we go, malware scanning. Just click on this button right here, and it'll scan your site for malware right off the bat. And if all is well, then you'll get a couple of green marks here in just a second. There we are. And I just want to point that out as a cool feature that iTheme Security plugin has. So go on down the line here, check out the items that you want. And my suggestion is that whenever you take care of a major fix, go ahead and test your site, make sure that all the links are working, everything's still working, do a backup at that point. So if the next item that you decide to fix breaks your site, then you would have already had all those other previous fixes that you know did not break your site still in play with that most recent backup. And that's it. That's going to cover the things that have to be done in securing your site with the iTheme Security plugin. The rest of the things that can be done, I'm going to leave that up to you. And that's going to bring us to the end of this video. Thanks for watching, and you have a great day. One of the ways a hacker will attempt to break into your WordPress site is by trying to guess your administration login username and password. Now, they'll do this by using a software program that can guess hundreds of possibilities in minutes. And if you're not using strong usernames or unguessable passwords, then your site's about to be hacked. They call this a brute force attack. In some cases, the sheer number of guesses the hacker software is allowed to go through can put such a load on your server's resources that your hosting company might even shut your site down. Now, even though this shutdown might be temporary, your site is still down, and this is not a good thing. In addition to having strong usernames and passwords, you also need to be able to prevent the brute force attack from happening at all. Luckily, it's super simple and can be taken care of with the installation and activation of a free plugin. There are several plugins that will make it difficult to brute force attack your site, but this one is simple and lightweight, meaning it does not suck up tons of your server's resources nor slow your site down. The name of this plugin is Limit Login Attempts. Yep, I think the name says it all. So let's go ahead and log into our dashboard area and install this plugin. Once you're logged in, then you come on over here to the dashboard area, or actually you want to come on down to the plugins area so we can install a new plugin. But before we get things rolling, let me go ahead and pull in my timer here so I can show you just how fast we can do this. Go and get the timer started. Come on over here to plugins, click on add new, and we're going to install the Limit Login Attempts plugin. Yep, right there. And click on search plugins, and it should be the top one that pops up here. Yep, right there. Click on install now, click on OK. And once it's installed, we want to activate it. Just click that link there. And once it's activated, come on down here to the settings panel. Come on down to the new link that's been installed. That's the Limit Login Attempts link. Click on that. And here are the settings. Now then, since I've been playing with this, there's my IP address right there. By default, there's not going to be anything there, and this is not going to show up because, well, there's nothing to reset. But the other items in here are pretty well okay just the way they are. You can adjust them, the number of allowed retries, so if somebody screws up 4 times and tries to do it on a 5th time, they're locked out, and it will show them in a red box right above the login that you've got 19 minutes or 20 minutes before the next login attempt will be working. And if after 4 of these lockouts have happened, they're going to be logged out, or locked out rather, for 24 hours. Frankly, myself, I would change this to like 700 some odd hours. I don't want them back, because if they are a legitimate login or a legitimate user and they just simply screwed up 16 times, I mean, then something's wrong there. They're trying something fishy. So really, in my experience, if they've been unable to log in for 3 or 4 times, they're going to send me an email. Now, if that has not happened, then it just tells me they're probably not a legitimate user. So yeah, I would definitely bump this up to enough hours to where they're not going to bother me again. And the other thing that I would adjust is right here. I would like to be notified by email if after a certain number of logouts or lockouts have taken place. The email that they're going to send this to is the administration email that's set up in your WordPress install. And obviously with this box ticked here, the IPs of those that have failed to log in are going to show up down here. And that's basically it. Now, if for some odd reason you have, as the administrator, not remembered your password or you screwed something up, let me show you what happens. Let me get this guy out of the way here. Let's go ahead and log out, and then try to log in with something other than what's proper. And try this now. And there, you see you get this box that pops up, and you've got 3 more attempts before it really messes things up. So if you can't remember your administrator login credentials in 4 attempts, well, you probably ought to just give up altogether. But if you want to, you can go into your cPanel or FTP account and just kind of disengage that plugin. Come on down to File Manager, look for that plugin, and just rename it. And that's in the WP-content directory. Open that up. In the plugins directory, open that up. And right here, just rename it. I just put a number or something after the end of it, like 1. Just basically change the name of it. And then come on back here, refresh, continue, and then you just type in the actual username, because you can see that you're not limited by the time factor anymore. But as soon as you activate that plugin again by renaming it back to the way it should be, then the remainder of that amount of time is going to be ticking down. And that's it. That's how you can get back in if you forget your own stuff as an administrator, and that's how you can block out the bad guys and gals from attempting to brute force attack your site using the simple plugin called Limit Login Attempts. Thanks for watching, and you have a great day. What should be one of the most important items on your regular to-do list is running full backups of both your files and database of your WordPress sites. This is very important because, heck, even if you're a WordPress security ninja master, if the right person wants to hack your site, they will get in. And when they do, if you have a full backup of your files and database, then you are much better off because you can then just delete everything and reinstall from your clean, full backups. This video will show you how to fully back up and restore your broken WordPress site, and we're going to do it in under 5 minutes. So let me just demonstrate first off that we have a fully functional WordPress site. Now, granted, there's not a lot to it. It's newly installed, and this does have a lot to do with the amount of time it's going to take. So yeah, the 5-minute ticker is based on a very small site. In other words, if you've got a 5 gigabyte database, then it's going to take longer than 5 minutes. If you've got a slow internet connection, it probably is going to take a little longer than 5 minutes. If you have both a slow internet connection and a 5 gigabyte database, then it's going to take a heck of a lot longer than 5 minutes. So I'm still going to do this video to show you how easy it can be done, and I'm going to do it in less than 5 minutes. So we click on the sample page. Ta-da, it's working. Homepage. Ta-da, it's working. Now, and we want to go into our cPanel control panel. We need to get a zip file of all the contents of our WordPress directory, and we need to get a backup of our database. We do that through the phpMyAdmin. But first, I want to pull in my timer here so that we can do this in under 5 minutes. Go ahead and click on that and go. Let's get the database first. We click on phpMyAdmin, and we want to make sure we are backing up the database that pertains to the WordPress site we're going to be backing up. And I know it's this guy here, so we select on that. And it shows all the tables. Go to Export. Go. All this is fine, just the default settings. Navigate to where we want it to be downloaded to. And I would go ahead and put it in a folder that is dated. That way you know that this and the other backup we're about to do is related to one another. And frankly, I'd only keep like 3 of them, the most recent 2, and then the new one. Delete the 4th one, the 4th oldest one, if that makes sense. Okay, so now that we got that backed up, I'm going to leave this open. Come on back to our cPanel. Come on up to the File Manager. And these here are just other folders or other directories, have nothing to do with this WordPress install. This one does, and I'm going to go all the way down to the bottom here, holding the holding the Shift key on my keyboard down, and then select the bottom file, and that selects everything. Or you could just click on this guy here to select everything, and then come up here and click on Compress. And before I click on Compress Files, I'm going to give it a different name. This time I'm going to name this one Today's Date. Then compress. And again, this is time based on how big your site is. And there it is right there. We want to download this to our directory, ideally in the same location where that database is so that we know where everything is. And since this is also going to be required to be uploaded to make this full demonstration, no need to waste the time in the downloading and the uploading, because it's going to come back here in a second because I'm about to break the site here just to demonstrate how to fix it. So let's just pretend that I've downloaded it and that I've also uploaded it. But let's go ahead and come on back to the site. Now that we've got our backup done, we've got this all zipped up and downloaded, and we've got the database all zipped up and downloaded. Now we come on back to the site here. I'm going to go into the dashboard area. Oh, wait, nope. Let's come to the cPanel. That's what I want to do. Go back into the File Manager, where I was, and go to the config file. Let's go ahead and open this up. Code editor. I guess I could do this with just about anything, but I'm just going to grab that and delete it. That should do some damage. And then save changes. And then get that out of there. Come on back here. Refresh. And yep, it's definitely broken. Now then, to repair. Let's come on back in here, because we don't know what broke, right? So we want to first upload our clean database. So we come in here and we want to select all these tables. We want to get rid of them. Come on in here and drop them. Are you sure you want to do that? Yes. Now we want to upload and install our clean database. Import, select the one we just downloaded earlier. That's this guy right here. Come on down here and click on Go. Give it a second. Again, it's time based on how big your database is. And there we are. Okay, database fixed. Come on back in here. Go to File Manager, which is this one right here. And now then, let's again pretend that we've uploaded this guy here. And we want to make sure it's selected. Come up here and extract. And it'll override all these other guys here. Extract. Bing, bang, boom. Done. Now then we can delete this because everything's fixed, right? Hopefully. Fingers crossed. And come on back to our site here. Refresh. And we're back to normal. And that is how you can back up both files and database, how you can break your site, hopefully you don't need to do that, and how you can actually restore everything from those original backups. That's going to bring us to the end of this video on backing up and restoring and breaking your WordPress site. Thanks for watching, and you have a great day.